I'm Karen Perrone, and I'm interviewing Betsy Graham, who works for Innovative Interfaces, and today is April 14th, 2011. We're at the San Francisco Hilton at Union Square, and I will let Betsy tell us what her job title is and what she does for the company.
So my job title is Vice President for Product Management, and it's one of many titles I've had while at Innovative. So right now, what this means is being in charge of the product managers, and they are the people that watch the market, who talk to customers, who get an idea of what the software needs to do. Hopefully they keep up with new workflow needs and things like that, so that we're always offering the right software to help automate the projects that libraries are involved in. So they deal with all kinds of libraries. They don't specialize like in law or in public or anything. We do it across the board. And so that's my current role.
Okay, and how long have you worked for Innovative?
In August, it'll be 29 years, since August of 1982.
So what employee number are you?
Well, it depends on how you count it, but I counted that I'm number 5, that it was Steve and Jerry, then Chick and Sandy, and then me. And there were a couple ephemeral people in there, like the original third owner, Lachlan Sippy and stuff, but they didn't last long enough, so we don't think they count.
That's a good reason.
Yeah, so 5, 6, 7, something like that. It was
Okay.
very small.
In the early days of the users group, I mean, there were meetings prior to the official conferences.
Yes.
How did those operate?
Well, they would usually just be get-togethers in hotel suites in ALA cities, basically, that we would meet and invite our customers to what we think of as a reception today. We would all pack into our suite, which was not nearly as fancy as the suites these days, and have a grand time, just chatting.
So it was more very informal, you'd
Very
say?
informal.
No programs?
They weren't really
things.
meetings. They were user get-togethers, put it that way.
And so with the formation of the formal users group, what was your part in it? Did you have any?
I didn't have any part in the actual formation of it. That first year, I certainly helped do the program, the innovative side of things, and to keep things running. I was probably still on the help desk, running the help desk at that point, so more support than product. We didn't really have a product management department for a long time, but so it would have been more just participatory.
Okay. How has Innovative been an active part with the users group? I
Oh,
mean,
heavens.
how did they feel when the users said, we want to have a formal group?
Well, I think it was very exciting, and I think to this day, I did some analysis of just some numbers to give at the opening session yesterday for the pre-conference day. We have 67 staff here. We're doing 39 programs, plus the 2 seminars. So we spend a huge amount of time and energy and money on making this conference run. It certainly is the user group's conference, but there's really an I in IUG, we always like to say. And so we work very hard to make sure that we bring the information that people need from us. One of my jobs is to get people to do their presentations, and you can imagine what it's like chasing 39 people around, trying to get them to do their PowerPoints on time and get them posted. But it's really a big expenditure. It's one of the biggest things we do all year long. I'm short of get a major release out the door. This is like the next biggest focused thing that we do, I would say. Jerry is usually heavily involved. Obviously, Neil was very involved today. All the top staff are here. Staff from around the world are here because users from around the world are here. So it's our VP for Europe and South, what is she? Mary Von and Joel Ross, where she covers Asia, not Asia, but Africa and the Middle East and Europe. She's here. A lot of her customers are here. So it's a big deal to us. Yeah.
We appreciate it. So once you started actually working with the users group on a more formal basis, you're involved now with the planning.
Yeah, I'm our
weekly
program.
meetings.
I'm our program person. So we start in September or October with a weekly conference call, if you can believe. It's way early on, where the chair and the vice chair, who is the program person for the IUG, and now it's myself and Jean Shimshock and Ellen Lafferty, who's our events person. And we talk once a week for all those months, just planning, talking about how the opening session will be, talking about number of sessions. Just, when we made the change to go from the plated lunch to the box lunch, those kinds of decisions get made during those meetings. So we work, all along with the IUG.
How do you think the users and the company work together?
Well, at the IUG, it's funny, a lot of it's very autonomous. Most of the IUG presentations themselves have nothing to do with us. The people put them together. Sometimes they may work with a trainer or a product manager or have somebody participate, but they're pretty independent. So I think at the conference, we work together. Certainly the product management department sits down and meets with the functional experts, for example. So we do product stuff together in person, which is really nice. We work closely with the steering committee, just getting through like the opening session and all the stuff that goes on. But then we're kind of on our own. We're in the vendor area. We have our booths, we have our information, and the IUG has the parts that they're doing, registration and whatnot. We don't kind of cross over like that so much, and co-present wherever possible.
Okay. I don't know how to put this, but there have been some programs that have been questioned, shall we say?
Sure. You mean proposed by the user? Okay. Yeah, well, this goes back to the I in IUG.
Okay.
So, if we're going to come here with our support people and our product people, and we don't believe it should be a competitive sales environment, that the kind of people who get funding to come to IUG typically get it to come to learn to make better use of the system that they have. And if what they get when they come here is about stuff that's not millennium related, basically at this point, it's not so much innovative as it is millennium, then are they really getting what they think they're paying for? If we had a bunch of sessions on open source options or things like that. Now, talking about open source as a technology and how innovative uses it, we just think that if it's an IUG, we don't have programs that say are for heavily competitive products. Now, having said that, EBSCO is very competitive with us right now, and they're still in the vendor hall. We try to think these things through and not be too heavy-handed, but we want the sessions to have something to do with using Millennium. And so there have been some that were about, implementing a Drupal front end or something like that really have nothing to do with using Millennium. Now, this year there's a birds of a feather for getting data out and into systems like that. So this is not hard and fast. It's not 100%, but we do try to keep it focused on the use of our products. Otherwise, it would become a sales situation. You get salespeople here instead of product managers. I just don't think that's the way we want it to go. So we do, every once in a while, pull the plug on something or ask that the IUG do that with us. And it's usually been a very easy thing to talking with Pat Crawford about it this year. People understand where we're coming from, and I think it's worked out pretty well. I think the users are okay. We have one this year again where actually an ex-employee of all things is comparing discovery platforms. So things will happen, and I think in this new open world that we're talking about, Sierra now, this is going to become more and more and more of an issue, and our stance may actually evolve as a result. But that's how we got where we are, and why, if we've objected in the past, that's why we've done so.
Could you talk a little bit about how you decide which employees will be coming to IUG, who will present, who will be on the booth, things like that?
Yeah, so I think the presenters kind of, they kind of suggest themselves. They're the trainers, the product managers, people who are comfortable getting up in front of people. We want to be able to try to guarantee, some level of competence and not have someone who's very shy up trying to, we've had missteps like that in the past. Having said that, this year we've got 4 different help desk people who've never presented before. Bonnie Knight and Greg McCall are going to present with Bob McQuillan on one thing, and then Sweta Abeda and Scott Blasek are doing on another. And that's kind of exciting, because we do have people that don't have public-facing jobs that really do have great personalities, and they're able to present. So trying to use a few more of those. But what really happens is I put out a call for programs. To this day, it's mostly Georgia Fujikawa and I, we kind of know what the topics are, and we go around, we'll get input from people, suggest programs. We ask other people. If we don't get suggestions, we try to look at what we're working on and make sure we have everything covered. But it's a few of us, usually with the same suspects. There have been years when the sessions were done more by customer sales people. Those were never as popular. I think people want people who can really get into and discuss the products or how you load records and things like that. And so we've stayed away from that. Now, in the the vendor area, the booths are manned by the salespeople because they're the ones who know how to sell you the products that we're trying to promote. But in the sessions, not so much. You won't find our sales staff giving sessions anymore. And I know that Neil used to be sales, but now he's really, represents the company as he gives the Sierra sessions this afternoon and working forward.
I'm we're glad to have, not just the salespeople.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, it's cycled over the years. It's been like 100% product management, then it's been almost all service, and then sales come in. This year, I think we have a good mixture of trainers and product managers, and we have some new product managers. They're just getting their feet wet, a couple who've never been to IUG before. So it's always exciting. Nervous people.
Speaking of exciting, talk about any of your favorite memorable moments.
Well, there was always the kazoos, which I remember. There was dancing on that boat in New Orleans. As I said earlier, I was trying to think of memorable, serious conference moments. I think today is very exciting because we have a change, an idea for a change. So I don't honestly remember when InnoPact to Millennium got announced. I'm sure I was there, but it didn't have the impact. I probably wasn't as directly responsible as I am now. But to me, this is very exciting. This is something people have wanted us to do. We've got the business logic down, the system works. Now, how can we open it up to let people do other stuff? And I think we figured it out. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, you weren't in Nashville, so you didn't get to sing Davy Crockett.
Didn't get to sing, and I didn't have all the blown out. Yeah, no, we've had some exciting places to be for IUG. Some of the receptions have been memorable, I have to
talk
say.
About some of those.
Yeah, I can remember the first chocolate fountain. People are very into chocolate fountains in this group. But like
Was the chocolate fountain when you had the headquarters opening? We had
I'm trying to think I think the first chocolate fountain was in a hotel, but the ice sculptures, let's talk about, maybe the first IUG after we moved into our new building, so this would have been in the spring of '95. And we had the second floor was all unpopulated, and so we had food and ice sculptures and a harp player. Remember, it was beautiful. So that was a fun one. When people can actually come into the offices, it's very different than now that we're so big we can't. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we always used to traipse down from the Claremont or up from the convention center or whatever, but now there's just too many people. That was always fun, to have people in the office and have it be all decorated.
Definitely.
And things, yeah.
Do you think the IUG is still relevant?
Oh, yes. I think as you see on tough travel budgets, over 1,000 people coming, I don't know how we could doubt that people still find this valuable. And this year we had so many program proposals from people, if we were out there beating the bushes trying to get people to present, you might wonder, but it's just not like that. People have tons of ideas they want to share. I think we'll see. I think with this kind of a meeting, you'll immediately know if you're getting in trouble of having become obsolete. The registrations will drop off. Nobody will, propose presentation topics, and you'll just know that somehow you've run your course. But it doesn't seem like that. This is something that we always look at. It's something that Jerry's very big on. It's not just assuming that the thing you're doing today is the thing you're supposed to be doing tomorrow. And we've changed over the years. We used to have a big reception at ALA, and that kind of got out of hand, and it started costing so much money that maybe that's better to put that money in Library Champions. Just because something is working doesn't mean it'll work tomorrow. And I think IUG is like that. But I think every time anybody looks at it, we think, nope. People running for office, strong voting, strong enhancements balloting, every indication that it's still quite healthy to me.
Have you seen any major changes from the old days when it was just a small group of people to now that it's a large conference?
Well, I do think a little bit. I think in the old days, and I'm not quite sure why this was, I think we used to get, now we get a lot of line staff, and I think that's great because I think it's one of the only conferences some of these people get to go to. They don't go to ALA. They don't, I hardly consider you like that, Karen, but the circulation clerks and the people that use the system. I think in the old days we had that, but those same people tend to be the ones that manage the system. It was a flatter thing. I think some of those people have been notched up to the point they don't come to IUG anymore, and we've talked many times about how to get them back because those personalities are very important to the group as well. So over time, appealing to a broad spectrum of people with different kinds of responsibilities. And I do think it's changed a little bit more that we get, the larger group has meant, probably necessarily, we're getting more line staff. And so the programs have to evolve to meet their needs as well. probably one of the reasons it's grown so much, because the number of customers, I bet if we were to do a chart with number of libraries served versus people coming to IUG, they don't, I bet one's growing faster than the other, and I think that's got to be that we're having different areas of employees being able to come.
Do you see in the vendor booth area a lot of new customers that come in, or do you see a lot of older customers, or a mix?
I spend so little time down there, I really don't know. I think it may be an opportunity, the customer sales reps cover fairly large territories, so it's probably a great opportunity for people to check in person with their rep that they've been emailing, and talking to on the phone. But I don't know if it's new or old. For years I've given a certain kind of presentation, and I see the same people every single year, and I think at some point people have kind of mapped out IUG and they know where their comfort things are and they go do, and some of that is coming to the vendor booths, whether you've talked to your rep a couple days ago or not. It's just fun to come see people in person and get demos and just talk to people.
Speaking of your programs that you do every year,
Yeah.
talk about the new release programs and the cheering.
Yeah, that's the one, and this is the first year I'm not doing one for, it's been, I can't even imagine how many years I've been doing this. It's funny, the very first time we did this, Leslie Strauss had a piece of paper and she read the bullets off, and she didn't know what, she wasn't involved with it, so she was so brave. I could never have done that. She just read them and that was that. And we thought, maybe we could expand this into, so it became, no matter how hard you try to make a blurb about a new enhancement make sense, it's very difficult. So it became saying why these things matter. What are they? What does it really mean and why they matter? And I've really enjoyed doing those over the years. This year, because of Sky River, because of Encore, because of Sierra, because of all these things, we are working on a release, but it just didn't seem, back when we were planning the program, like it would be safe to put a whole hour presentation on. I didn't know if I could fill it. So instead, I'm going to be talking more about the technologies for Sierra and the new library system. So this will be a first, but I'm sure next year I'll be back talking about enhancements for both Millennium and Sierra, and we'll get back on track. I always used to put one of those on the very last session of the very last day because it just seemed like a great way to close the conference. I hate having it just dribble away. I like to be there when it's over and go, yes, and have a cheer go up.
Yeah, I like how people would always, vote for their, get all excited about their favorite enhancement. And speaking of enhancements, what connection do you have with the enhancement process?
Well, so the IUG has this extremely robust group of close to 40 functional experts, it's amazing, who cull through thousands of enhancement requests and dedupe them and figure out ones the system can already do and all that. And then there's voting, and that ballot's given to me, and I share it within the company. And we do as many of those line items as we can. And then in addition, all during the year when people are working on these things, the functional experts write and talk to the product managers in an ongoing fashion. But also we attend the functional expert meeting, which was just last night now, and sit down with them and talk about the process and work very closely with the two people in charge. This last year, Molly Beisler and Kathy Setter and going forward. So we try to coordinate pretty carefully, make sure we let them know when things that they're working on are going to be possible in a future release so they don't waste their time on those and things like that.
Okay. And the enhancement process has changed quite drastically over the years.
It has. Well, it's just more complex. The system has so many areas. We've got so many categories now. Used to be there were 5 circulation categories, if you remember back in the days when
that was
Chris,
my fault.
well, you and Chris from Michigan State, why can't I see her last name?
Ostrom,
Chris Ostrom, that was funny. And then the web pack kind of became this big thing. And so now we're kind of down to 1 or 2. We have requesting and circ, so the categories have changed. Maybe the use of the system is kind of balanced out. It is difficult because we have public libraries and academic libraries all trying to agree on enhancements, and now we have international libraries trying to be heard in the mix, and we're trying to figure out how to make all this work. So I just think it's gotten more complicated over the years. That's the most I could say about it. It's gotten very complicated. The number of products has gotten so big, it's really grown. Yeah.
If you could see the IUG or innovative change one thing to improve the conference, what do you think that might be?
Well, I should have thought about that before. I don't honestly know. Improve the conference.
Or is it such a well-oiled machine that it just kind of works?
Kind of works. We're always trying to get greener. Every year we wonder if we can get away from a printed program, and we've really cut it down. If you remember those days with those notebooks,
Yeah.
holy moly, the footprint on our planet back then was pretty heavy. So I think that we've done good. I think the one thing I would love to do is if I could draw more directors to this event, or more associate directors or deans, or the people that run the library. If we could figure out a way to have the program appeal, maybe not even the whole time, but we've tried to focus certain days on that. Don't know that we've ever pulled that off completely. So that would be something that would be interesting. Some way to involve different levels of staff with their peers, but as part of the conference, so that they would feel they got something out of it too.
Is that kind of the reason the directors' forums
Yes.
came about?
Yeah, was really and also TIGA and what we call the Innovative Leaders Forum, which is at the associate dean, sort of AD level, trying to reach, because we find that it's good to have people with their peers together talking.
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to create these groupings where people are interacting with the people doing the same jobs that they are, with the same sort of interests. We also have a Public Library Consortia conference that we actually tacked on to the IUG this year, but that used to be separate. So we try to meet people. You can't have a conversation where you've got all these different libraries. The needs are just too different.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to focus that. We are trying to do more tracks in IUG too, and somehow maybe we could get better at that, so that some of these conversations could happen in line during IUG, but it's so hard to schedule. It's so hard to have that work with the schedule, and then if people pick the right things. It's doing the program person, Amy this year, they really have a job cut out for them to get the whole program together. So making that perfect is probably not possible, but it's an area to think about.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are the director forums and things doing well, or?
Yes,
how
we
are
just
those?
had a series of them here. I think we're looking at moving them out of California maybe next. We've had quite a run up at the Claremont Hotel. Last time we were down at the Hyatt on wherever it is in Union Square. There it was a beautiful hotel. Yeah, so, but yes, they're doing well. Every group is smaller today because travel budgets are cut, and yet we still had 60 or 70 at the academic and
Wow.
40 maybe at the public. So they're still useful. Some we do every other year, opposite PLA or ACRL. The academic we still do every year because people want it. But again, every year you question, do we still want to do this? And so far it's been yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I don't think so. I think that it's a wonderful conference. I don't think people feel lost at it. Go to ALA and you're never quite sure what you're doing, but here there's too much to do, which is a good thing. Nobody is sitting around thinking they're wasting their time. There's always something else to do. I think we get different, for a while, we were maybe in a rut where every year the same people volunteered to present. If Bob Duncan wasn't there for hours and hours, what would we do? And now new people are stepping up to the plate, and I think that's great. There's new, more technical people coming out of library schools, and having them engaged and presenting is going to be good, especially as we move into Sierra. Maybe there'll be exciting things for people, different kinds of presentations, hack fests, and things where people are talking about coding, which hasn't really been possible with Millennium up to date too much. So that could be very exciting. I like the lightning rounds. Actually, I think it's a great idea to have quick hits on focused topics. One of our ideas, unrelated to IUG, is we have our NOU, and we were joking the other day about having YouTube, where we had 20-minute, 10-minute videos on how to change the foreign currency in an invoice, or how do you back out a fine, or how do you, so many little things where it would be fun and people could sit down around a computer and actually watch a person, feel a little bit more interactive. So doing stuff like that, having more social things in the technology social things in IUG, watching them tweet and do all that, I think that's improving things. And but I just don't think people are bored here. I think people come and they have a lot of good information, a lot of fun, and then you kind of can't wait till the next time. So it works pretty well.
Well, we're glad that you're with us still and hanging in there.
A few more years, yeah. Yeah, okay.
Well, thanks for taking
Oh, you're
time.
welcome, guys.